back again for another episode of The Dominant Effect. I'm Archbishop. We got Mike Ball and Aaron Olinger. Glad everybody came out tonight to another one of these stories that we're going to try to tap into. Before we get started, everybody hit that like button. Get us out on the proper algorithm. We've been kind of struggling on that end, trying to get this out in the right spots. And you people that's watching will be able to change that by going on here and hitting that like button. So, so tonight on the podcast, everything feels a little different right now. Everywhere you look this week is some kind of pressure somewhere. Iran's tensions are rising. China is surrounding Taiwan. You got deepfakes that's exploding online. You got Ukraine escalating into new warfare tactics. And meanwhile, regular people like you and I are just being crushed economically while world leaders are keep telling everybody that everything's good. But what if these stories are not just isolated, but they're all connected? And tonight we're going to be talking about why the world suddenly feels unstable, why tensions are rising globally all at once, and whether we're entering a completely new phase politically, economically, technologically, and also psychology. So we're going to jump into a little bit of all of that tonight. But before we get started, our first part of this, we were going to start talking about Iran, but we just got some breaking news right before we started here, which is one of the reasons why we was a little bit late here. So I'm gonna read this off right quick, and then we can comment on it. Okay, so there are multiple reports saying that the U.S. carried out additional strikes in Iran just here the past minutes. So according to Reuters and several other outlets, the strikes targeted Iranian military assets near the Strait of Hormuz after the U.S. said there were threats to American forces and commercial shipping. U.S. forces reportedly hit a military site in southern Iran, and the Pentagon and CENTCOM positioned that the strikes were defensive and aimed at missile and drone threats. Iran is accusing the U.S. of violating the ceasefire agreement and acting in bad faith during ongoing negotiations. Oil prices jumped again because the traders are worried about escalation around the strait. What triggered today's strikes was Iran allegedly moved missile systems, drones, and possibly naval mines near the Strait of Hormuz again. And U.S. officials said that these movements were viewed as an immediate threat to U.S. military ships, American personnel, and commercial and oil shipping in that area. So the reports say that U.S. surveillance picked up an Iranian drone activity and military positioning near key shipping lanes. The U.S. then launched what it called defensive strikes on a military site in southern Iran. At roughly the same time, the U.S. forces reportedly intercepted multiple Iranian drones. There are also reports that Monday and Tuesday, that Iranian boats may have been laying sea mines or preparing to interfere with the shipping traffic along the strait. That appears to be what pushed tensions back up so quickly. Now, Iranian side of the story is very different. Iran says that the U.S. attacked first during ongoing negotiations and violated the ceasefire agreement. Iranian media is framing the strikes as pressure tactics while talks are still happening. So what do you think about this, guys?
I think Iran got caught moving up into position. And I mean, they should know that we've got satellites. We can see everything that they're doing. But the strikes that we did over Memorial Day weekend, and like you said, they called them self-defense strikes in southern Iran. We took out, I've heard, as few as 2 and as many as 8 of the high-speed speedboats that were laying mines. But we hit a certain number of missile bases. In fact, we trapped 300,000 alleged Iranian Republican Guard troops underground, that the entrances and some of the tunnels, we caved them in. We used the B-1s to carry the JDAMs. We used the B-52s carrying heavy, high explosive bombs, and we used the B-2s to carry that bunker buster, that Moab weapon. And we had them all three in the air at the same time, working in conjunction with each other. And what they did was they figured out which ones were the largest tunnels using their satellites, and they took out the entrances and did what they could to collapse them. Now, most of the underground bases are under major cities because they're using their civilians basically as human shields. But Iran has been building tunnels for the last 40 years, from what I found out. And they've been building them 295 feet underground, and they call them missile cities. They're built so that, and they got like 30 of them also built into the mountains. Iran's plan was that the missiles would remain underground where they would be safe until they would be ready to fire them. Then they would emerge and be utilized. But Iran felt that the war would last 5 years. They told their people this, and they told their people to basically stock up and prepare for a 5-year conflict. But we all know that the world is not going to sit back and let this war go for 5 years. That's going to be an impossibility right there. But I'm gonna stop there for right now.
No, you're right about that, Aaron, especially with the global economy being kind of choked out. It's not like it's in between just two nations and no one else is affected, right? So, of course, I think on an international front, they're not going to allow that. Also, on the newest report on this whole thing, right before we started, like minutes ago, there was like 2-3 different reports that came out like boom, boom, boom kind of thing. And they were showing that it was because of 4 alleged drones were launched from Iran going to United States, one of our, flagged ships out there, as well as one of the Navy ships. But the latest report from that is saying, well, those drones actually were going to a cargo vessel, not the military. So it's changing, as we're going, of course, here in the minutes that it's breaking. But yeah, anyways, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Well, let me
Another
add
thing I
to that.
found though.
Okay, go ahead.
Aaron. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I saw where Marco Rubio said today that the negotiations are going to continue in Qatar, where they're negotiating despite the attacks. But Iran currently is still holding that strait and wants to collect their $2 million in toll fees. And they're claiming the right to control the strait, even though that's supposed to be international water through there. They're claiming both sides of that strait. Now, what I did notice today was some of the other countries are noticing what Iran is getting away with, and they're saying that they're considering charging a toll fee for the straits in their areas. And we know from the map that we put up in the past that there's 8 other straits that oil flows through, and whichever country is militarily superior in that strait is going to be claiming their rights to control it, and they're going to be charging a toll fee. So there's other actors that are wanting to get in on this, of making this money. So this ain't going to go well if other countries start to run with this ideal, and we're going to have piracy on the high seas. But that's what's going on.
What are you pulling up, Mike?
I'm just showing the different straits as he was naming off that there was multiple straits.
Yeah.
And these areas, yes. One thing that I would say about Iran, one of the big reasons why we haven't attacked them in the past was because leading up till now, including Trump, he knew this was going to happen as well. But if people knew if you attacked Iran, then they were going to shut down the strait. That's been a threat from Iran for many, many, many of years. I mean, 40 plus years of that threat. But yes, just like we've talked about on this channel multiple times, as well as down here by the Houthi rebels by Yemen, right? They could shut down this strait too, because that is also a part of, the proxies of Iran. So there's many things that are worrisome in the international shipping route. I mean, because theoretically, these are not owned by anybody. Okay, it's
Right.
not owned by Iran, it's not owned by Yemen, it's not owned by United States, not owned by anybody. It's owned. It's international waterways, and so we're disrupting a big thing here that's going on around the world. As you guys can see, these ships going around Africa like they are. I mean, it's just insane. Anyways,
Yeah. And Mike, give me picture one if you don't mind.
sure. Here we go. Picture one.
Okay. What this shows is the amount of oil that's going through that strait, how it's being divided up, and who's getting it. And the biggest shares is going to China and then India next. And very little is making its way to Europe, but you can see how the shares is going. And then Mike, give me picture 4. This was the markets today. Oil was down below 100, which suits me because it means it's cheaper at the gas pumps. At least it's not going to go to $10 or $15. But if it goes between 150 to 200 a barrel, or goes as high as 300 a barrel, you're going to be paying 15 to 20 at 300. At 200 a barrel, it'd be $10 a gallon to $15 a gallon. So I want that to stay under $100 as much as possible. But the bond market was having a sell-off today. Bonds was taking a killing, and which means our debts that we're trying to sell aren't working out very well in the world markets.
Yeah, right now it's showing crude oil right this second at closing is at 79.08 right now.
Yeah,
79.08.
it's dropping, which I'm cool with it. But nations like Russia, Venezuela, Iran, whose money is based upon their export of oil, that's killing their money. Which Iran's money right now, they're not shipping nothing, so their money's probably only worth $10 on 100 right now. But Mike, give me picture 3 if you don't mind.
Sure, gotcha. Here we go, number 3.
Okay, what we're looking at here is the cost of goods that's impacting the American pocketbook. And it shows the increases and just how much more everything is costing us since the start of this war.
Oh, wow.
And these are very substantial increases.
That's
And-
interesting. Like even something like cotton, of course, any, diesel, gasoline, any petroleum product, natural gas, heating oil, jet fuel, crude oil, sulfur, that totally makes sense. But like stuff like cotton, it's like, wow, wouldn't even think that. Rice, for obviously fertilizer, as we know, we've discussed on this channel.
Well, let me say something about fertilizer. With fertilizer going up, we won't see the increase in food yet for at least 2 to 3 months. When the first crops start coming in, they start coming in short. That's when we're going to start to see the increases on the food. So food prices will follow fertilizer prices, but it'll have a 2 to 3 month lag.
Interesting.
I'll stop there.
That's interesting that it would have a 2 to 3 month lag because, for instance, when gas prices go up, right? It's interesting how the exact gas that's already in the tanks, it's already been delivered, and now all of a sudden they're able to jack up the price literally in a blink of an eye. So it's interesting watching how different markets react, and also the same thing on that same topic regarding these big companies like Marathon or whatever the case is, gas stations. They're willing to shoot up the price as fast as humanly possible, but as soon as that price comes down, they're very hesitant to bring that price down with it. So,
well, that's generally what happens. Is
Yep.
it's quick to go up. It takes its time to go back down.
right.
Just like you said a few minutes ago, that the gas prices, that the stock price dropped down. What would you say, 73?
Damn, I gotta
Yeah,
go
79.
79. Okay. So now you just had this happen. So tomorrow it's going to shoot back up.
Yep. And the reason why the price came down is because of the illusion that there was some sort of peace plan that's happening right now. And that's why the price of oil's gone crazy. Same thing with the stock market. We've watched many things move around because of that, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of this stuff dealing with the stocks, a lot of this stuff is being manipulated. You have, and they've been talking about it for several weeks now, how a lot of people have gotten rich off of this market right now, knowing the exact times to buy and sell. And like once they come on and they talk about that prices are gonna they're gonna work on this agreement or whatever, and that the peace process is going on, like I said, it drops, and then as soon as something happens, shoots right back up again. I just pulled up something here that I'm gonna read that's dealing with this whole agreement and what's been talked about right now. Since, like I said, I've been watching all these other outlets talking, and they've talked about this agreement. And at first they was talking about the 10-point program, and then U.S. had a 15-point program. They kept going back and forth, but you didn't hear anything else after that.
Right.
So,
About the specifics of the framework. Right.
Right. So I just pulled this up that I'm gonna read out to everyone. So this agreement that's being talked about right now is not a finalized peace treaty yet. It's more like a draft framework or memorandum of understanding that the U.S. and Iran have been negotiating through mediators, mainly Pakistan and Oman. But here are the reported details that came out this week. Number one, the Strait of Hormuz reopening. That's the biggest part. Iran would reopen commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, stop interfering with oil tankers, and restore shipping traffic closer to normal levels. The U.S. in turn would reduce or end parts of the naval blockade, pull back some military pressure in the area, and help secure open shipping lanes. The temporary ceasefire window reportedly includes a 60-day ceasefire extension, with negotiations continuing during a period for a longer permanent deal.
For their nuclear program. Right.
Right. So that's why today's strikes is such a big deal, because Iran is saying, how can we make negotiations if the U.S. keeps striking? That's what they're saying now. Okay, now part three of this deal is sanction relief. Iran wants sanctions eased, access to frozen Iranian money overseas, and the ability to openly sell oil again. U.S. position appears mixed about that right now. Trump has reportedly said that there will not be broad sanction relief yet, while some draft reports suggest partial easing was being discussed. Number four is the nuclear program. The U.S. wants limits on Iran's nuclear activity, inspections, and guarantees Iran won't pursue nuclear weapons. Iran reportedly wants recognition of its right to civilian nuclear development, which that was done back with the JCPOA, and protections against future surprise attacks. Then you have number five, which is a maritime control dispute. And one of the biggest controversies today is that Iranian state media claims a proposal existed where Iran and Oman would help manage shipping traffic in Hormuz. President Trump immediately rejected that publicly and said Hormuz must remain fully open in international waters. That appears to be one of the flashpoints that many have contributed to tensions exploding today. So what seems to be happening overall with all of this is that both sides wants to deal because the economic damage is massive. Neither side trusts each other, of course, and military actions are still happening while negotiations are supposed to be continuing, which kind of puts you in that place that you don't really know whether these negotiations are really going to happen, being the fact that, they kind of keep going back and back, taking pop shots. You know what I mean? So you really don't know exactly how far this quote, quote, negotiation is even going to be, if there is actual negotiation. So that's where we're at now. So it would seem to me that, based on what went on just a little bit ago, that these negotiations are going to go right back to where it started from the beginning. It seems like every time seems like what we've been watching for the past couple of weeks. Every time it takes a step or two forward, it ends up taking 2-3 steps back, for some reason. And
Yep.
it's those fears that's dealing with that is why the oil markets, like we were talking about, are just going berserk right now. And because there is a lot of uncertainty.
We're
And
watching
also,
it jump $20-$30 and then watching it. I mean, it's insane.
right. And not only do you see the uncertainty there dealing with this, but as these tensions rise, then everybody on our end pays attention to it, because you're dealing with the gas prices, you're dealing with inflation, you're dealing with food rising up.
Yeah, if it affects us.
Right. And there's a lot of stuff that right now we're just talking about that's not going to take effect yet, like later on in the summer into the fall, when you realize that these crop yields is not going to be what they're supposed to be. And you have areas right now, a lot of the US right now is experiencing, you got floods on one end, you got heavy drought on the other. I know here in Florida, I mean, we're having massive drought here. You have certain areas that's getting rain, but here in Central Florida, the actual lakes and stuff, they're receding. I went to one just yesterday, and you could see where the water has receded at least 15 feet from the shoreline.
Wow.
I mean, and there's a lot of counties here that they're telling them not to water your grass, not to fill up swimming pools, not to do a lot of the extra stuff, because they're trying to conserve all this water. Because I mean, Florida's getting hit with a major drought right now, and a lot of these other states are too, which is going to be a huge problem come later on into the summer, into the fall, when you're dealing with these crops, you're dealing with a lot of the citrus fruit and stuff that's grown here in Florida, that's going to take a hit. I mean, due to this drought and not getting all this rain and stuff that we're normally should be getting during this time. This should be rain season here. It should actually rain here every day, but there's been times where it'll rain just enough to get the car wet and it's done. You know what I mean?
Dude.
We haven't been getting any kind of rain like that. But then you have other states like Ohio
Or me,
and
where I'm at
upper
right now.
Midwest, Alabama, stuff like that has been getting flooded.
Yeah. I mean, dude, it's been nonstop raining here for the last 3.5, 4 days or whatever, and it's still got another 7 days to go, or 6 days.
Right. So it's a lot that's going on, not just here, but you also got to think about these other countries too that were on borrowed time about how much oil reserves they actually had left. We talked about this before in one of the other shows, that some of them was already down to days to where their oil reserves was going to be tanked out. So there's pressure everywhere. A lot of these countries are resorting to cutting off power at certain times. They're doing driving restrictions. They're doing several things to try to conserve power and to conserve gas. A lot of the European flights and stuff, they canceled a lot of those flights because of the rising price in jet fuel. Same reason how Spirit went belly up. Rising prices in jet fuel and other things.
Watch how those very failed states, such as somewhere like Cuba, for instance, which, I mean, of course, that they have a little bit of a different issue regards to oil, but look at how they're struggling right now. If anyone's paying attention, I mean, it's just as bad, almost as bad as Haiti, where it got to that crazy level of these guys there's no self-sufficiency there anymore.
Right.
It's gone.
And that embargo still exists in Cuba, where they're still stopping ships from going into Cuba. We did a show about that before. They let that Russian ship go through and drop off stuff, but other than them, they've been turning away everybody else. So they've still been struggling over there. They've still been having great failures, and their overall power grid infrastructure is basically crap. You
Yeah,
know
it's
what I mean?
basically
And it,
non-existent at this point. You know,
right,
they're
right.
they're going, you know, entire days. I mean, there's times where their average is like they get like 4 or 6 hours of electricity when they are online. You know, but when
Exactly.
they're offline, when they're in a blackout, I mean, the whole island's in a blackout. I mean, it's really we're talking about millions of people, by the way.
Right, right. So when you have that and you have those blackouts, what happens? Not only do you not have power, but your water treatment and all that all runs on that. You know what I mean? So when
Yes,
one
sanitary
shuts
level,
down,
everything.
everything else shuts down too. You know what I mean? So you gotta on that part, you gotta think about not only, clean drinking water to drink, but you also gotta think about the sanitary issues as well. That causes diseases, which carries on into something else, which carries on into something else. You know what I mean? So
Humanitarian crisis at that
right,
point.
right. It becomes a huge problem. Becomes a huge problem. But that's a part of like the trickle down effect. One thing happens here, and it trickles down into everything else. You know what I mean? And
True.
this particular situation that we're dealing with right now doesn't just affect certain people. It affects everyone across this globe. It's going to affect one way or the other, whether you like it or not. It's going to affect you. So um, that's one of the things that we talk about all the time about getting yourself prepared for this stuff because you see what's going on right now. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And you can't really trust mainstream. You can't trust what's being told because you hear one thing, then you hear something else. Like Mike just said a few minutes ago, we get 3 or 4 different reports as to what went on with something that just happened. And it's going just that quick. So we're gonna jump. I don't know what in the world just happened right there, but we're gonna jump into what's going on in China and Taiwan right now. So while everybody was being distracted watching what's going on in the Middle East, China and Taiwan tensions continue building quietly in the background. And honestly, this may be one of the most important stories that we're talking about right now because Taiwan produces a huge percentage of the advanced semiconductors chips that basically powers everything that we deal with in modern technology right now. And
Mhm.
that goes for your phones, your AI systems, your data centers, your vehicles, military systems, computers, everything. So this thing here just isn't about territory. So if Taiwan becomes unstable, global technology chains could go into chaos almost overnight. And what's interesting is that military activity around Taiwan keeps increasing while global leaders publicly try to avoid this whole panic that's going along with it. So, yes, the U.S. have been supplying approved weapons sales to Taiwan for years. And there's a new report that this month involving a possible package worth up to, what was it, 14 billion worth of military
Dang.
help that they're going to be doing. But the situation got a little bit more complicated recently because some U.S. officials suggested that parts of Taiwan um, may be slowing or paused due to the Iranian conflict, which meaning they're, not sending all that stuff over there because we're going to may or may not end up being able to use these munitions. So that's a concern. While other officials push back, saying that these Taiwan sales are not directly tied to the Iranian war. So you got that back and forth. But you remember, you also had this meeting with President Xi and Donald Trump here the past last week? Was it last
Yep.
week or week before?
Yep.
And
Week, yeah, week and a half now.
one of the things that we're talking about there is that China did not want the U.S. giving them weapons,
Right.
and that was one of their biggest things that he pushed out, and actually he used that as a um as like a deal breaker. Like, I'm not going to make
Right.
any deals with you if you sell them these weapons. And we've seen over the media for the past couple of weeks that he's made deals with several other countries. So you had the Iranian defense minister, he was there. You had the Palestinian defense minister that was there today. You had Putin that was there right after President Trump. And they were talking about all these other sideline deals that they were making. I think Putin made almost 40 different deals with them when he went for his visit. But they were talking about Trump's visit in particular, because once this was said to him that they were not going to make any deals as long as they give Taiwan these weapons, and basically want them to basically step off and say that you're not going to defend Taiwan, wanting him to publicly say that he was not going to defend Taiwan. That causes a huge problem. You know what I mean? Because now that's putting you on the front. So now you got to kind of weigh this. Okay, so am I going to continue to protect Taiwan like we've been doing, like we've been saying through multiple administrations that we're going to do this? Or am I going to turn the other cheek and say this just to make this deal with President Xi, and he turns around and takes over Taiwan? They get control of all the semiconductor chips, and then basically you kneeling down to them to do everything that you want to do.
Well, Xi, his big thing was on the negotiations, and real quick, and I'll be quick with it, is his main concern was Taiwan. Okay, and all of these discussions that we're talking about here, and that includes Trump. Now, of course, what was Trump's main objective out of this thing was probably regards to Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. And yes, they did talk about those things, no doubt, they absolutely did. And Xi absolutely agreed that yes, it should be opened, and of course. But his main thing was regarding Taiwan, and he's like, "Listen, this is basically the one thing I'm willing to go to war over." And so Trump got the message.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, Aaron?
This is the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, I saw where China announced today that the United States didn't have to worry. They weren't going to supply Iran with any war materials. And then they don't want us to supply Taiwan. But it came out a month and a half ago it came out when well, that was about a month and a half ago. It's been about 50 days. When the truce went into being, they shipped man-pad weapons in there, which is equal to our Stingers. It's an anti-air weapon. They shipped in anti-tank weapons, their newest and hottest items. They shipped in, what was that called? The anti-ship missiles that they had. That was the best that they've got to sink our fleet. And there were some other weapons that they shipped. So how are you going to tell us not to do something? Oh, and then they also shipped them long-range missiles that can hit targets in Europe and possibly reach the United States. So how are you going to tell us what to do, and you doing just the opposite? Do as I say, not as I do. This is ridiculous. But I'm going to stop there.
Oh, shit! Oh, shit!
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Aaron. Now, with the weapons package that Taiwan was supposed to be getting here, that package included HIMARS rocket systems, Patriot missile systems, drones, artillery systems, anti-tank missiles, and ammunition for various other weapons that they were doing. Now, like you said, President Xi did put this out as if this was going to be his quote deal breaker. But the U.S., meanwhile, says that it is actually legally obligated under the Taiwan Relation Act to defend Taiwan. That was an agreement that was already signed. You know what I mean? So it's not like you can say, oh, okay, we're not going to do it. There was an actual agreement signed saying that the U.S. would come to their help, to their aid, and that the U.S. would make these deals with them. So here's my question to you. Hypothetically speaking, if conflict ever broke out around Taiwan, do you think the world economy could actually survive that?
Good question. It would take us 10 years to catch up. I think it would take us about 10 years to be able to get maybe 80% of what Taiwan's capability is out there regarding technology. It would take us at bare minimum 10 years, infrastructure wise,
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and
I'd have
billions
to,
and trillions of dollars invested. But yeah,
I'd have to answer the question two ways. One, if we lost Taiwan, and one, if we won. If we lost Taiwan and China got a hold of those chips, we will no longer have chips for our smart munitions, which we would run out in just a few weeks. So, and then China would leapfrog clear ahead of us in both AI as well as advanced weapon systems, and we would not be able to compete. So we can't afford to let that place go into their hands. We'd have to blow it up ourselves before we let that fall into their hands
right.
and destroy all the computer records so they can't possibly mimic it or rebuild it, because China's great at copying people's stuff and
True.
putting out fakes all the time. But if we could win that, I know we've got two carrier fleets in the Pacific. We got one off the coast of California that's supposed to sail that way. So we'll have three battle groups right there in the area. We're allowing Japan to rearm. We're putting missile batteries into the Philippines right now and Australia. We're selling Australia nuclear submarines. Everybody's supposed to rally up and defend Taiwan. Man, that water is going to become the Red Sea for real. It's going to be a bloodbath.
Yep.
I wouldn't want to be in that 100-mile stretch of Chinese boats coming across, because we're going to be hitting them left and right. Taiwan's going to be hitting them. Man, it's going to be a mess. And depending upon how many we kill will determine if this escalates to nuclear war. So don't impress me to be the type of guy to lose a bunch of people, but when you got 1.4 billion people, or between 1.4 to 1.8, and you're going against America that has 335 million, he can afford to go man for man with us in asymmetric warfare, and it wouldn't be a drop in the bucket to his population to lose 335 million when he's sitting on 1.4 to 1.8 billion. So
Mm-hmm.
we're counting on our technology to give us an edge. We need it. So we can't let those chips fall in their hands, because we won't have nothing for our smart munitions. We won't have anything to be able to keep up with China. China will overtake us not only in production, but technology. And right now, 2025 to 2035, the country that leads the world right now has to lead in energy, which is oil, and it has to lead in technology. So whoever's going to control the oil and whoever's going to lead in technology will lead the world in the next 10-year period.
Real quick, I just
Mhm.
want to say one thing. Well, even though not everyone can just get their hands on oil and chips and technology and stuff, but you guys can get involved in this kind of game, gold and silver, tangible assets that you guys can have, and that's one thing that's super important. I think looking out for your own future at this point, because of course these are observing. We're everything we're showing you guys is we're giving you what is happening, but what can you do for yourself in the moment? I look at that as like, well, that's going to be when anything goes down, whether it's this shit or it's in the regards of like a central banking system where it's all like one, online currency or whatever. Like this is going to be saving you guys right here.
Yeah. Mike, let me support you on that. Put up picture 5 if you don't mind.
Gotcha. There it is.
For those that say, well, you can't eat gold, you can't eat silver. When currencies go belly up, gold and silver has been around since the days of Egypt and Rome. What you're looking at is the uses of silver, and silver has a key position in technology moving into the future. With the demand being what you see on that board right now, silver is not going to lose value. It's going to hold its own, or it's going to go up in price. Mike, put up picture 6 if you don't mind.
Sure. 6. Here it is.
And for those that can afford gold, here's the uses of gold. What gold is needed for right now. Not only is it needed for stabilizing the currency of a nation in the world, it has technological uses. They need gold to put inside of satellites and stuff that they're putting up into space. With the demand that you see that's up there on that board, there's no way that gold's going to go down to zero or not be worth anything. In fact, it's going to continue to climb. Once we get out of the fact that they're manipulating it right now, and they ain't going to be able to keep it down for long. Gold
Hey,
and silver
Aaron,
is going to start climbing again. Go ahead, my man.
you've noticed that there's no diamonds on these kind of lists. You know what I mean? It's you
Yeah.
see, metals. And something that we were just discussing. It's not just a commodity. It's used up in all these industrial levels. I mean, now silver was just added as a critical mineral
That's right.
on our critical mineral list in the United States. These kind of things is like basically guaranteeing that yes, we have a limited supply of this stuff on the planet,
Right.
and we need it as humanity here. We need it, so it's going to command a value always. But like what I was saying is, you don't see no diamonds got uses of diamonds. For instance.
No
But anyways.
emeralds, rubies, sapphires, opals, none of
Right. Exactly. You don't see none of those.
Yeah, it's yeah, it's coming to the point that a lot of the things, not just gold and silver, but you also got to think about copper,
that. Yeah.
copper, radium, platinum.
Mhm.
All of those are,
But they're all metals.
right.
That's one
There
thing.
are, yeah, they are rare, and these are the minerals that a lot of these countries are going for right now. Besides those, I mean, simply because those can conduct electricity, a lot of everything dealing with everything that we use has all of these in it. I mean, everything that we're using right now has something in it that we're, that's coming from there. And eventually it's going to get to the point to where you're not going to be able to buy silver and buy gold and stuff like that because
Because the government allows you to buy it right now.
Right. Now you remember back when they did that back a while ago, Aaron was talking about it, where the government said that you couldn't own gold. Everybody had to turn in their gold, and they got these little promissory notes or thing or whatever, which end up being junk. And it was for a long time there, you couldn't even own gold. You know what I mean? It's gonna come back to that situation again. You know what I mean? And I seen something not too long ago where they were wanting these bullion companies and stuff like that to disclose their information as to who had been buying it and what they bought, so they knew who to go to. I mean, it wasn't going to be like no random search just checking to see who had silver, who had gold, but they wanted their actual list showing who had what, so they knew exactly where to go to.
Because in 1933, they took the right to own gold away, and in 34, they took the right to own silver away for a period of time.
Yeah, so it's this stuff that we be talking about. I mean, and a lot of this stuff has happened before, and it says history doesn't repeat itself, but it surely rhymes. It may not happen exactly the way it did before, but it always seems to come back upon itself. And this is one of them situations. And we're, as these months pass, like we said, and I said before, March, July, November, those are going to be your 3 months. July is right around the corner, and we see all this stuff that's going on, and a lot of the stuff people still think, even with the stuff that's going on, people still think, you know what, it's not that bad. It's not going to happen to me. I'm not really worried about it right now until I see it, or I'm not worried about it right now until they tell me this is what's going on.
And then I
mean,
got to panic.
right. But just to let you know something, that by the time someone actually tells you or you hear it on TV that this is what you need to do, it's already too late.
Mm-hmm.
It's already too
Facts.
late. So if you don't prepare for it now, this is what's going to happen. Now, can you actually say that a lot of people right now can actually go out and be able to do all the stuff that we be talking about doing? No. You know what I mean? Because a lot of households are strictly paycheck to paycheck. Some of them is barely getting by as it is. And with these rising prices, a lot of people are making decisions as to whether to pay the light bill or pay the rent. You know what I mean? Buy food or put gas in the car.
I was
You know
about
what I
to
mean?
say, or put $10 in the car. That's
Right.
the one thing that affects. I love when senators start talking about gas prices because they're so disconnected,
Right.
or anybody in politics. It's interesting watching how they respond to gas prices and stuff because they're so disconnected from people that are, normal everyday people, right?
Right. Right. And generally so, because you think about it, if you had money, would you really worry about if the gas price went up a
Of
little
course
bit?
not.
No.
You're not looking at your bank account. You're just like
Right.
swipe the card, fill it. Hey, let me put it where it's on the auto setting. Let me go sit down in my car now closed and I'll
Right.
wait until it clicks, because I'm not worried about money at that point, right?
I heard something today, which I kind of, I mean, I don't want to have to call somebody a dumbass on here, but he's a real dumbass. And he said, well,
Shit.
even though the gas is going up and food's going up, people are still buying like they've been buying. So it really isn't a problem. You're right. People are still buying. But what are they doing, though? They're using credit cards. They buying this stuff on their cards now. And all that time that you spent trying to pay them cards down and all that and say, okay, I'm not going to spend nothing with this card. I'm not going to use this card. Now you having to use it. And you thinking,
Yep.
okay, I'll just pay this one bill here. And then next paycheck, I can pay it back. But no, something else comes
It never
back
happens.
in.
It never
You gotta
happens.
do that. Right. And it builds up. You know what I mean? To where, where we were talking about before, being able to take care of this stuff here, not having to be in so much debt and whatever, in case something did arrive. But this stuff is like, you have to, you know what I mean? You have to take out and use this credit card or apply for a loan that got crazy ass interest on it or whatever, just to make it go by. And you're like, okay, yes, I'll get this right now, but I'll pay it back. You know what I mean? I'll get it back quicker. So I don't have to, you know what I mean? I'm hurt right now, but this will put me ahead. That's not what's happening. You know what I mean? And you find yourself slowly drowning as you're going through. So Aaron, I'm gonna ask you, being the fact that, like I just said, a lot of people can't just go out and just buy all this stuff that we've been talking about. Some people would want to go and just splurge and just buy everything that we sitting here saying. When commonly all you have to do is just get a little bit at a time.
That's right.
Just a little something here, put it to the side. A little something here, put it to the side. Get you a 5-gallon bucket and buy a couple bags of beans, put it in a bucket, couple bags of beans. You know what I mean?
It's simple. It's
And just
the
slowly
ideology
build
of
this up.
stacking.
Right.
Like if I can only afford 1 ounce of silver every single month, let's just round it up and say it's $80. Okay, boom. Then the next month you get another one. You don't if you overindulge and you try to overinvest, that's when you're putting yourself in a worse off position, actually. And so you don't want to just go out and buy a bug out bag and then buy a ton of beans and rice and a ton of water out of nowhere. Like you want to kind of gradually do this as an ideology. It's not something you do it once and it's over. Like it's an ideology change. You have to go, okay, this has to be the new normal for me. Now I'm going to sacrifice eating out twice a week or whatever, or 3 times a week, where now I'm going to be able to save that money I would have spent on Taco Bell, I can buy 1 ounce of silver and I can start. And I know that sounds small, but it's not. It's the ideology of stacking. You just slowly go. It's not just I'm just have this because it's tangible and I've got it in my hands. It can be stocks. It can be or when we're talking survival stuff, yeah, you buy one thing at a time for your bug out bag. You don't spend your entire paycheck on it, and now you're eating top ramen and paying things on your credit card. You know, that's counterintuitive to the mission, right? So, what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, I'm gonna say this: both Mike and Bishop, both of you guys are correct. Life to me is priorities and sacrifice. You have to get your priorities set. You got to put a plan into action, and you got to sacrifice your wants for your needs, so that you can have what you're going to need when the time happens. I'm gonna use Cuba as example, with gas costing $40 a gallon, with them turning the lights out at night. If I was doing like what Mike alluded to earlier, I'm betting on future income to pay my bills now using credit. What I'm doing is I'm digging a hole, because now that they turn the power off at night, nobody's working second or third shift. As soon as it gets dark, the town gets turned off. So if an economic downturn happens, it could be a depression, it could be a recession, it could be anything that causes your economy in your area to go down. Where are you going to get the overtime from? Where are you going to get the income? Is the job market open where you can work 2 jobs, or are you going to lose a job and lose that income? And here it is, you're maxed out. Now you got to go file bankruptcy because you spent the money wrong. All you do is pace yourself, and after 6 months, that's going to be your measuring stick. At the end of 6 months, you can look at your shelves that you got and look at what you was able to put aside, and it'll start to look like a little mini store that you've got, a little 7-Eleven or something that you got right there in your house. If something happens, you don't have to leave your home. You can stay in the security and the safety of your home and be able to make it just fine. But I'll stop there.
You know, Aaron, what you were saying about buying a little bit at a time, and I mean, I was saying a little bit about it earlier. There's a friend of my mom's that she is like the queen of penny shopping.
Oh,
Okay.
I
shit.
swear to you, she is the queen of penny shopping, and
With or without coupons?
she uses it all. Now she can show you a bill, I swear, is this long, and only paid $12 or $5 or $6.
That's
I'm telling
epic.
you.
That's epic.
Right. She does it daily. Okay. Her and my mom are best friends. I'm telling you, my mom probably got more stuff stacked up now than she ever had in her life.
That's awesome.
Because of this lady here. She is the queen of penny shopping. I wish I still lived in Ohio so I could go there and have her teach me how to do this. But
Me too. I'd sign up for the class.
Right. She's just straight up gangster with it. I know that them people in these stores hate to see her coming because they know what she about to do. And she goes right in there and gets exactly
about to raid that
and get up out of there. And she has all this stuff. It's crazy how you can do that. But they have a lot of stuff that's out now. I see some other people have been sending me stuff online where like the Dollar General and Family Dollar, just stuff like that. They have these certain websites that you can go on, and it tells you what it is that they have that you can get for a penny, because actually these stores only keep stuff for so long and then they throw it away.
Yeah.
You know, so
except for like
that's why
places like Home Depot. There is that. Even Home Depots do that penny thing. I follow a creator on Instagram that does that, and they have to legally, like, this is the way he's explained it. They have to legally offer this to be able to be in a program or whatever, that they get funding or whatever it is. But nonetheless, that's what they do. But he goes in there and he knows exactly what he can get. It'll be like huge toolbox kits for 1 penny, and he'll buy 12 of them for 12 pennies. Like, and there's been multiple times he records himself with his meta glasses because the managers will come up and, of course, try to. There's no way that you can do this, and he's like, "Yeah, legally you have to," And he shows the paperwork, does the whole like, "This is on your site right here, right now. This is the embed of AI showing it. Everything. It's like mind blowing to me."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was wondering that because I noticed that a lot of these different department stores and stuff like that you go to, they keep their dumpster areas, they keep it locked. They put like the
That's
little fence
why.
around it and they lock it up. That's why, to keep you from dumpster diving, because they
Yeah.
throw stuff in the garbage. You know what I
It's
mean? But
fresh. I mean, it's really not fresh, but it's good enough produce that obviously anybody could eat.
they throw that. I mean, but also just regular inventory, not just food. I'm talking about regular
Really?
inventory. They box that stuff up because they're only allowed to keep it in the store for so long. They pull it off the shelves and they throw it away.
So
And then
like
they put
shirts
stuff
or
out.
whatever. It could be
Yeah,
anything.
any kind of product. Anything that's
super
sold in that
interesting.
store is only there for a certain period of time, and then they have to do
It's
away
like
with
a car lot. Like for instance, they know how long that car has been on that car lot, right? Okay, that it shows that it's been there for 62 days, homie. You're struggling to sell this thing. Yeah, that's interesting. I had no idea
So
that
they
they
get rid
did
of
that.
that. So that's how the penny thing comes in, because these are
That's
the
interesting too.
products that they're going to be getting rid of. So they put them on these sites that you can go on, and it tells you what's there, and you go to them stores and you get them.
I want to play this game.
I want to learn how to play it too.
I want to be involved.
But I'm saying, if a lot of people are wondering, like, okay, how can I buy all this stuff? Maybe take a look at that. You know what I mean? Because that may be another option that you can be able to get things, not have to pay a whole lot of money for it. Like I said, I'm trying to learn how to do it myself. You know what I mean? Just to see what all I can get off of it. You know what I mean?
If you learn it, don't gatekeep.
Man, I'm trying to, you know what? I've been thinking about numerous times to call my mom and say, hey, I'm gonna call you on video, and I want her to sit here and show me exactly what it is that she do. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
It's crazy. It's crazy because she literally goes out like every other day and comes back with receipts a mile long that she didn't only paid $6, $12.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like that. You know what I mean? But this is what she does to be able to get what she needs. You know what I mean? She doesn't have a whole lot of money, living off of disability, stuff like that. So she learned how to do it this way in order to get what she needed and not have to spend a whole lot of money doing it. You know what I mean? Now, to some people that may sound outrageous, or, oh man, I'm not going to do all that. But guess what? Times is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And whether you wanted to do it or not, the way this stuff is looking, the way this economic forecast is looking, and the way inflation is rising and these prices are rising, you're going to have to do something. We're going to have to change our normal. We're going to have to, because if not, you're not going to make it. So
let me add to that, if you don't mind, Bishop.
Go ahead.
Again, if you're stretching pennies along with super couponing, again, go on the computer, look up a list of all the food pantries and churches that are giving away free food every month. You'll have 3 or 4 a week in any given month giving away food. Just get up out of bed, sacrifice a little bit of sleep. I got up yesterday, went and got in line at about 7 a.m. They passed out the food at 9 o'clock. I was number 6 in line. And then I took all that food over to my daughter's house because, she's got a family, 2 grandchildren, husband. They needed it more than I did. So I took it to them. But you're getting free food. And with that free food, that's money that you're saving in your pocket that you can direct toward other resources that you're going to need. So along with super couponing, start hitting them food banks, because if they don't give it away, they got to throw it away. So keep that in mind. Don't think that you're too proud to be out there or somebody needs it more. I can't think of anybody that's got more of a need to eat than I do. I got the same powerful need to eat as the next man. So save you some money. they're giving you 50 to 100, sometimes $150 worth of food that you would have to go pay for. You get desserts, you get bread, you get some dairy, you get some meat, you get canned goods. That helps you stock up your food pantry. Now, true, you got to use it quicker, but the other stuff that you bought at the grocery store can go up on the shelf and then you can just burn through what you get free at the food pantry. But you got to really think ahead. You got to get frugal because things is about to get real tight and we don't have that much more time before it's going to get tight.
That's a fact.
Right. Right. So we're sitting at right at an hour. So we're doing good. So we're gonna shut this down for the evening. But the biggest question that we had tonight, based on everything that we talked about, and we went through various things tonight, is how many of these global situations that we was talking about tonight are truly isolated? Because right now we're watching military escalations in the Middle East. We're watching rising tensions between China and Taiwan, ongoing conflicts in Ukraine, AI changing up the way the information spreads, a whole lot of deep fakes and all that stuff that's going on. And also economic pressure that's hitting us regular people everywhere around the world at the exact same time. So whether people want to admit it or not, this world does feel different right now. It's more tense, it's more uncertain, it's more unpredictable. And now is not a time to panic.
Mm-mm.
It doesn't mean the world's going to end tomorrow. That means you just have to pay attention, look at what's going on, do what you need to do for yourself and your family, judge yourself accordingly. So thank everybody for coming out. Like always, like, follow, share, subscribe. Hit the like button. Please, 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 please hit the like button. That's what gets this show out in the proper algorithm. If you haven't subscribed to the Dominant Effect, please do so. Go on the Dominant Effect podcast on here. Hit the subscribe button. If you think you had, but not sure, go check. Hit that subscribe button. So we need to get as many subscribers on here as possible. We need to get as many likes on here as possible because this is what gets this out. Okay. It's a lot of work that we do every week to make sure that we put out this show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the only thing that we ask for is for you to hit that button and get it out to where it needs to be. Truth needs to go out. You know what I mean? How we do this show every week is we're doing just that. We're trying to put out the information, get it out to the right people so that we can hopefully get as many people as possible on board, on track, and be able to make it through whatever it is that's getting ready to come, because it is coming. Go ahead, Aaron.
Mike, give me picture number 2, if you don't mind.
Sure. Let me go ahead and pull that up for you. Number 2. Bam.
What you're looking at here, since this war started, is where Americans are putting their money. You do have Americans out there that are prepping, and this is what they're buying. But what amazed me is they're buying almost as much toilet paper as they are perishable, non-perishable food, which is your canned goods. I mean, I don't see much water up there or in certain other essentials like alternative power, but I guess everybody's butt's going to be cleaned. So
It's so weird. So
yeah,
odd
I
what
mean,
human beings do.
they did the same thing during COVID. Everybody's
Yep.
rushing up buying toilet paper instead of buying proper food and things that's going to
Yeah,
keep
bro,
their
I can
body
use a
nourished.
leaf. I mean, I'm just saying, like, I'm not gonna make or break it with toilet paper. But anyways,
Okay. But what I'm about to say is if you need a template that will motivate you, go with this. Larry Fink, he's the CEO of BlackRock. They manage over $11 trillion in goods, assets around the world. He says if the war doesn't end soon, that you have 4 to 8 weeks, and then there's going to be a chain reaction collapse of nations' economies. Remember, oil equals energy, energy equals a nation's economy. So 4 weeks would be the end of June. 8 weeks would be the end of July. And you're going to be feeling the ripples from this war. And there will probably be shortages and stuff occurring because I'm sure by then the war will either escalate or will de-escalate. So in case there's a collapse, hard assets like land, gold, and silver is a great place to put some money at because it's going to retain its value. And during hard times, it goes up in value. But one thing is for sure, you want to be stocking things right now so that you will have it later. That's the only guarantee. I mean, I just went out and bought 2 cases of oil, one for my car, one for my daughter's car. I bought 2 oil filters for them. So if oil starts to become short here in the United States, which it shouldn't, but in the event it does, I can get an oil change and keep my car running. And that's what you want to do. You want to think, what if this happens? What's my response going to be? You got to get out in front of this stuff so that when it happens, again, you're not the one that's panicking. You're the one that said, I saw this coming. And I'll stop there.
W topic and W panel. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we can't thank you enough. Make sure you guys hit that like button on the way out. We always appreciate you. Also, if you guys are on my side, make sure you guys stick around. We're going to be rating our buddy Sterling Wheel. He's live right now. So anyways, until 7 days, we'll see you guys here. Much love, honor, respect to everybody.